Welcome to Adult Swim's Spotlight panel on the state of adult animation. I'm Terri Schwartz from IGN, and with me is an all-star lineup of the creative team behind Adult Swim's biggest hits and most exciting upcoming series. So joining me today are, without further ado, Michael Ouweleen, the president of Adult Swim, Dan Harmon, co-creator of Rick and Morty, and Lisa Hanawalt, the creator of Tuca and Birdie. And as you can see, we are all, together in the same place, hanging out in Dan's closet for the purposes of this panel, of course. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It's such a pleasure to chat with you all.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to go over a couple different topics in this panel. You are the masterminds behind, again, so much of what Adult Swim represents, past, present, and future. So first of all, it's been a weird freaking year looking back at 2020 and heading into 2021. So I did want to talk with you all about how the animation process has changed due to COVID-19. Whoever wants to take this, I know it's a super fun one to start with, but I would love to hear from all three of you on how the animation process has changed due to the coronavirus and the work from home limitations, and if there were any specific surprises that came out of shifting to production at home that potentially were positive for the experience in creating your shows.
Lisa, how much were you in the midst of production when the pandemic hit?
Oh, we were just putting our writer's room together when the pandemic hit. We had one day in the writer's room in person before things got too scary for us to meet in an office space anymore. So it's nice to have that one day to touch base. And then we went onto Zoom. I actually like working from home.
Yeah, me too.
I like not having to be in the writer's room for like 8 hours. Like I don't know. Yeah. I find that like this is lovely, but the longer you're on Zoom, the more your like battery drains and your will to live goes away. So for
there's
my writer's room,
it's a more honest engine like hooked up to like, it's like you can do 4 hours on Zoom you before you're burnt out, your eyeballs are burnt out, your brain's burnt out, but it's 4 hours of 100% efficiency kind of as far as writer's rooms working.
For me, it's like I tap out around 2 hours. Honestly.
Okay. Well, that we do 2 hours. The people are the hoi polloi are not going to love hearing about this, but we do 2 hours and then we take lunch for like 2 hours and then we do another 2 hours. It is like, it's going to be really hard after the vaccine to convince me that I need to work harder than that.
I agree. I don't ever want to go back. I think like you have to be more efficient. So I don't know. I had to be a little more structured about what we did in the writer's room. Be like, okay, we're going to work on this today. We're not going to like fart around and watch YouTube videos for 2 hours like we usually do. And I miss that casual like hang time. But
yes, the joy, the feeling of family. You roll in. The writer's assistant from last year, who's a staff writer now, is there early. The all-stars are rolling in late with stories about dermatologists and stuff like that. And like you're missing those rough edges, and stories do come out of that stuff. However,
I still got a little of that. I still got people rolling in late and like calling into Zoom from their cars, like on their way home from an appointment.
Now that it's all laptops, like you can't, even though we lose that like jocular kind of camaraderie energy, and we lose a little, it's like the nice thing is now it's like we're in boxes already anyway. So now people can, you pitch an idea, no one can interrupt you. The loudest people in the room aren't necessarily like going to dominate it. People can't hear each other if anyone's talking over someone else. And so it's a good thing in the way that television needs to advance in anyway.
It's true. I do miss the energy of like that in-person, like post table punch up, where people are just screaming out weird stuff and we're building on each other. Like now I've been having writers just send me their punch ups, in script form, just like less fun, but.
We're talking primarily about the writer's room experience, but with the relationship with your animation studios as well, like, has that been impacted at all, or has that handoff been relatively business as usual? You have the benefit of not needing to go to a set necessarily to make your shows come to life.
I think if our line producers were here,
I'll take it back.
they would have the dark side of this story, I think, probably for myself and Lisa, it's like,
yeah, we're a little bit sheltered from some of this.
It's like these are people whose problems we want to be distanced from anyway. I like shout out to Sydney, like on Rick and Morty. It's like
Thank you, Eric.
She's had to bear the brunt, and it's like the quote unquote silver lining for her is like, well, this show already operated in chaos that rained down from creatives who like change deadlines and are like, one more rebreak of this story. So like Sydney sitting in her office with the artists outside her office is, for her, it's like, I'm sorry, for me, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But from her perspective, I'm sure it's a living nightmare to shift then to all of those artists are now at home coordinating and stuff like that. But for us, it's kind of, again, it's like, well, this is how we already worked. We already just like made people's lives hell.
Speak for yourself, please. There have definitely been like a few communication breakdowns where it's like, oh, this artist just really like went off the rails completely and nobody stopped them because they were on their own and nobody could look over their shoulder. But I don't know, I kind of find those moments a little bit fun anyways. So
yeah.
I've found that voice record is harder now, and editing, anything that is about timing is much harder now, and sweetening. So I haven't seen a solution to that. I would love to hear if you guys have.
No, about that.
But I would compliment both of you that the work coming in on both your shows, you cannot tell that we're doing it during a pandemic. It's like...
And that's because of pre-existing relationships. So shout out to Lee Harding, who was already editing Rick and Morty for years. Therefore, we can endure the bump over to editing via BitTorrent, because when the Wi-Fi goes down and now we're skipping frames and they edit and Lee already knows the Rick and Morty comedy timing style. My heart bleeds for 25-year-olds launching their Netflix shows. They're trying to find their voice and they're trying to cultivate relationships with their post department in this pandemic. That must suck. I agree with you there, Michael. It's like, because this is no environment to do voice performances. Those things require so much TLC that's not happening now.
Yeah, I'm amazed that all of the voice talent that I know across Adult Swim all of a sudden have a Zoom mic and they're learning to operate it. Like they're becoming engineers suddenly, which is amazing. So huge thanks and shout out to those people. It's amazing.
We also reached out to some of the voices behind your favorite characters to ask them a few questions. So let's take a look.
In terms of COVID affecting the voiceover work I do, I feel very lucky because it hasn't affected it that much. I've had to record from home, which I never did before, but I upgraded my equipment and have been able to do that successfully. There've been some Zoom hiccups, but overall it's worked out pretty well. And then also voiceover being what it is, I can put on a mask, walk into a booth and it's been sanitized and take off my mask and record and put it back on and leave. And I don't have to come into contact with anybody generally. So voiceover has continued and animation has continued. And I feel very lucky to be working in a field that has been able to go on in the face of the pandemic.
So recording during COVID, it's been a bit of a process. So it started out, my first try was taking the lower bunk of my son's bunk bed and taking every duvet in the house and every pillow and creating like a sound cocoon, and then balancing, Harry Potter books and poker chips and then putting the microphone on top. And it worked pretty well. And my second try was my daughter's play tent and duct taping like 7 moving blankets around because I read that moving blankets really dampen the sound. And then when we were going to start recording full episodes of Rick and Morty and not just pickups, I looked into building a sound booth in my house and did like a deep dive researching it into like bass traps and green glue, and finally realized that task seemed a little bit daunting. So there's actually this place in Oregon that makes professional sound booths, and they built me one and shipped it up on a crate, and then we had to kind of put it together. And it's got like that, blue egg carton foam on the inside of the walls to make it sound good. And so I've been recording from in there, and it's actually been really fun.
Even though this has been a challenging year in many ways, as a television consumer, I've never been more selfishly happy to have so much TV available at our collective disposal to binge consume it. And certainly with the launch of HBO Max as well, a home of so many Adult Swim titles, people have so much more access to it, even beyond just the linear programming. So I'm curious if you in particular have noticed any changes in viewing habits or those rises in consumption during the pandemic that has been relevant to you that you'd want to share.
Yeah, well, obviously everyone in March and April saw linear television all of a sudden become the hottest thing in town again, which was an amazing moment for everyone. It sort of cooled off a little bit, linear consumption, but you're right, everyone's watching more and more content. And I think it's more relevant now to people's well-being and emotional lives. So we're feeling, at Adult Swim, we're feeling the appreciation for our stuff even more than normal. And I think it helps all of us working in the pandemic at Adult Swim know that what we do matters while we're having as much a hard time as everyone else. And I would put animation, because other live action production has obviously dropped a bit, it's allowed animation to come forward even more. And I think we're done with the thought piece of like, is adult animation a thing? I think we're done with that. Part of it's because of Rick and Morty and Tuca and Birdie, seriously. Part of it is, and because of great content being made by everybody, but part of it is because the animation continued forward. So it was the only thing to write about. So everyone could finally catch up to the thing we always knew, which is, yeah, animation for adults is a thing and it shouldn't be othered. So I think it's sped up the fecundity of like what's going on in adult animation. Personally, I think this moment has.
We were joking a little bit before we started recording, Dan and Lisa, about, writing to various pop culture or general culture things that have happened over the course of the past year. But I'm curious, have you found that your shows are, in terms of what you're writing, responding or incorporating elements of the pandemic in your upcoming seasons? Not even necessarily direct plot lines, but I mean some of the general conversations or social experiences we're having. I see a lot of shaking heads no.
Yeah, I think it's too soon to write creatively about something that's still happening to you, but we definitely have like metaphors that you could find, I think. That are disguised.
They're hidden even from us, I'm sure, because I think we're all going, oh, this is a bump in what we consider a normal road. So there may be young creators out there who, they're going to incorporate the pandemic into their sensibility from the get-go, because their first job will be they took an interview over Zoom. Their first script writing experience, their first development experience will be over Zoom possibly. And those people may carry an energy into the creative flavor that we'll recognize as pandemic flavor, I think. The way we look at 70s slasher films and connect Vietnam anxiety to them, but it'll be because as writers, the first thing we think is, oh, are we supposed to do a pandemic episode? And the answer is no, because we're not South Park. We have no time to do it, and we have no idea how corny and out of touch it will feel by the time it airs.
It feels too literal. I don't like to write about stuff that's like literally, I like to couch it in a bunch of other things and write about something else.
If Tuca comes over to Birdie's apartment with a mask on and is like, it's just like, it
won't even fit over her beak. I can't do it.
Now, Dan, I know from talking to you over the past year, you guys have been churning through scripts. You have you're up to season 7, I think. Jumping ahead?
Like a week from now, the season 7 writers' room starts. While we continue to work on season 5 episodes, which
is what I was going to ask. Like, I know that you've gotten far ahead on the writing, but I'm curious if the shift to home production has impacted the delivery expectations of the episodes for season 5 and beyond at all.
I shamefully tell you that my the old way of me thinking I need to perfect a script before I hand it off to artists was so ass backwards that even during a pandemic, now that I've started collaborating better, we're way ahead of the non-pandemic schedule. That's
Amazing.
how much I would bottleneck our process. My live action derived work ethic had everything to do with, if a line producer says to me, we need it by Wednesday, my interpretation of that would be, that's how you meet your schedule, but my name and this show suffer if I give you less than perfect work, and I don't want to have to change it on you later. You'll complain about that too. In animation, you have the luxury, and in fact, I think the mandate of working with your artists, of writing a thought down and letting them draw stick figures, engage in that thought, letting the stick figures dance, inspire your revision to the script, etc. It took me way too long to figure that out.
I love that. I love when you work so carefully on like 2 pages of a script and you revise it and you make it so perfect, and then you hand it off to the supervising director and the storyboarders, and they're like, this scene doesn't need to exist, and you're like, oh yeah, throw it out.
It's like look at, he's carrying a lunchbox and the lunchbox has a star on it and his eyebrow goes like that. You just spent 3 pages and 3 weeks making everyone wait for storyboards because you needed to make it clear as a story writer that, I mean, I bet you suffer from that way less because you're an artist and a writer, which is an unholy union to me. But like, I had to learn to work with the artists.
I love our headlines coming out of it. Lisa Hanawalt, I'm perfect. It's great. We got it. We're getting what we need. No, Lisa, I wanted to ask you though, with Tuca and Birdie coming to Adult Swim, which is so exceptionally exciting for season 2, with the freedoms and flexibilities you have working with Adult Swim, have you been leaning into them, or can audiences expect any kind of, any change at all with the shift to Adult Swim in season 2?
I mean, a lot of it, I think, will just be more of the same. We wanted to maintain some consistency for the people who are already fans of the show while making it accessible to new viewers who are catching it for the first time on Adult Swim. So that was a fun challenge. But yeah, we're going to continue a lot of storylines from the first season. It's been really nice working with a network that understands animation and loves it so much. Like, that's just been great. They give us a lot of freedom.
So I'm curious, looking forward, what types of shows are you looking to greenlight when you're looking both at creators that you've worked with in the past, but also new voices to the medium?
Yeah, we're looking for, I think a big change in animation has been that funny forward isn't enough. There's emotional depth or truth depth that's been going on in all content, really, but especially in animation. Animation has been over-indexing in rich character development. We've always been able to deal with topics that are harder to deal with in live action, I think. But there's an emotional richness now that's coming in that I think that Adult Swim could do more of. And again, these 2 shows, Tuca and Rick and Morty, do that really, really well. So I think that's one thing we're looking for. So super funny, of course, character-led and character-driven, yes, of course. Something you haven't seen before, yes, of course. But also with this emotional depth that doesn't take away from the humor, right? So it's not a joke a second isn't enough anymore, I don't think. And that's, I feel like, a generational change in terms of what people look for. And then again, I think that up till now, a certain type of a creator looked a certain way. Let's be honest. And because young people have grown up, it's about they look like me or you. But because there's a whole bunch of new people who grow up watching cartoons and seeing how valid they are, we're seeing other people be showrunners, and it's kind of rounding out what kinds of stories are being told. And so it's super exciting. We want both. And it's up to Adult Swim as being at the forefront to help grow the talent pool, which I feel like we're getting there. We're not done, and we never will be done. So what does a person who grew up with a different background than mine do with a half-hour animated show? That's what we're interested in.
Of course, we couldn't talk about state of adult animation and what's ahead for 2021 without getting updates on your shows from you all. So I'm just going to go around and just whatever you have to share. Would love to hear it. But Lisa, how is Tuca and Birdie looking for season 2? What can you tease of what's ahead?
What can I tease? I'll say Birdie is exploring therapy and maybe finding out it's not a quick fix to her many myriad of issues.
And you said the pandemic didn't influence the writing.
That's old shit. And Tuca has a new love interest. And Speckle goes on some wacky adventures. He really goes off the rails.
We are excited to share with you an exclusive look at the new season of Tuca and Birdie.
So what normally happens when you panic?
Well, Speckle and Tuca help me, which is terrible. I'm such a burden on them. Like, if I bomb this dinner, Speckle will for sure dump me and get a super chill girlfriend, and she'll be Tuca's new best friend.
I know how to surf, and I never shed.
Tuca and Speckle haven't dumped you yet?
But they will. I'm like a haunted house. I look charming on the outside, but the more I let other people in, the more they'll see what I'm really like. And it'll be too much, because I'm freaking haunted.
Maybe they want to go into a haunted house, and they want to help.
I've got like creepy girls facing the corner with no face and shit.
You don't have to fix yourself before letting them in.
Nope. I didn't come here to not fix myself. I could have done that in not therapy. I'm here because I'm fixing to get fixed. If you can't help me, I'll just keep trying other therapists.
Totally cool. We've got 20 minutes left on the clock, so I'm going to watch pottery fail videos if you want to join me. The pot was so beautiful, and now it's mud. It's just freaking mud.
Y'all here for a date with me?
I sure am. Oh, I see everyone is. Wowzers, this is a development?
Well, toot, y'all crazy romantics, and get on the sex bus.
I was just waiting for my bus to go home.
You're not going home until you compete for my casual interest, you little cutie.
I have a husband.
All aboard!
Dan, how about for Rick and Morty? If you could tease what's ahead for season 5 or anything.
Robot boobies. Because it's the future. You thought regular boobies were interesting. Wait until 2021 hits you. Do
they have different modes, or is it like
different what?
Modes?
Yes, like nurture and provoke.
So
that's actually.
So Madonna or whore, is that?
Yes, exactly. But with the robot ones, you can pick a lane. It's not or so
Don't get
sloppy and organic.
Yeah, it's not confusing.
It's like this is the mode I'm in. Ginger or Marianne.
This solves so many problems for.
Yes, I'm glad you agree. Finally.
Yeah. Well. Again, we're getting headlines left and right. Michael,
we both canceled ourselves.
I mean, he's seen the scripts, he's seen the animatics. He's
yes, I have. Yeah, I have to approve things.
Michael, can you also tease what's on the horizon for Bird Girl? Any updates there?
Bird Girl, I mean, to give Paget Brewster much more to do in a show is always a good thing. So we're really excited about Bird Girl. And basically, Bird Girl takes over, it's a post-capitalist show. So she takes over a horrible company that her dad built and keeps uncovering the horrible things that it's done. And she has to use kind of her Bird Girl powers and her CEO powers to undo it all. And also there's sort of dumb product of the week that we get to do in it. So we're learning what it really is as we go, is always happens. And yeah, hoping it's good.
We are excited to share with you an exclusive look at the new series, Bird Girl.
Hi, can you open this?
It's the CEO's office, actually.
I am the CEO.
So how come you're not in the office?
Because it's locked.
Well, I need approval to unlock it.
From?
The CEO, duh.
Thanks for unlocking it.
Wow, you are the CEO.
I'm changing the name of my show to Bird Girls. Do you think that'll be convincing?
Oh my God, that's a funny marathon we should do.
And we have Bird Person and Rick and Morty, and we're actually retaining he has a daughter.
We need an Avengers of Bird People on Adult Swim, just a big crossover special. This is the green light pin. Well, no reaction. No reaction.
I was thinking, no, Paget Brewster's the best. I didn't know that she was Bird Girl. I
love her.
And she's always been Bird Girl from Harvey Birdman days. She's the best, as you know. Yeah, she's so good.
I'm not a fan then.
She can turn a phone book into a hilarious thing.
She's the best.
Yeah. I did want to say, Michael, obviously I would be happy for the Bird Trifecta marathons all day on Adult Swim. But is there anything else exciting in 2021 you want to tease for everyone watching at home?
In general?
In general.
We've got some great Animate originals coming, and I would say them, but I'm not sure which ones we've announced. But we've got, so not just in comedy, but there's some really innovative stuff coming in anime to Adult Swim this year. So yeah, and our usual shenanigans, some specials, some stunts, and then we'll continue the Adult Swim Festival, which is we did 2 years of music and comedy live in Los Angeles. We did it virtual this year, and we plan to keep it going this year in 2021.
Amazing. So, you keep us endlessly entertained, and we are deeply grateful.
We try.
No, I did also, I know we're running low on time, but I wanted to ask you guys some fun questions too. Not that all these state of the industry questions are not fun as well. So I'll just go down the list. And again, whoever wants to jump in, these are for all three of you. But my first question is, what is the series, animated or otherwise, that has most influenced you in your career?
I find myself referencing Inspector Gadget a surprising amount. Then I'll turn the conch over. Like, I never knew how passionate I was about Inspector Gadget, but
God, I love Inspector Gadget.
I reference it in the writers' room where I'm like, when you were, I was 10 years old watching Inspector Gadget, and I was like, oh man, every time they revealed that his pinky is the flashlight, and they stay consistent to that. That was my kind of like, so when we do stuff with Rick, and I'm like, can we don't have to, can we have the internal logic, please? Like, can we, and the animators do that so well, like where they'll, the house teleports away in a certain episode, and then from then on, you can see the crack in the pavement that wasn't there before, where the house was returned to its place. And like that, I don't know. I always associate Inspector Gadget with that, which is weird because that was a syndicated show that it wasn't incentivized to be consistent like that. The guy had a helicopter in his head. There's nothing logical about that, but it was consistent. The helicopter had rules. That influenced me a lot.
I'm just blanking on what to even, because there's so many things that have influenced me so much.
Well, clearly your show like rips off BoJack a lot. Like,
yeah,
I think you should.
I know.
I think you need to own that. The look is very similar.
The art style, really, I've ripped it off completely. I'm just thinking of like The Last Unicorn, which was a movie I watched over and over again as a kid. And it was, in hindsight, way too scary and horny for children, but I liked it. So I think something about that combination of things, it was very like emotional and beautiful and frightening.
And I feel like there's been a renewed appreciation for The Last Unicorn too. I feel like there's a lot of people who had that same experience who are like, oh no, this was a formative movie that maybe doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good either. Like, I think if I watched it now, I'd be like, what the hell? But I really, really liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah. How about for you, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of predictable, like David Letterman and Monty Python and X-Files, by the way, and West Wing, and just really good writing, So, yeah. And weirdly now, I mostly am into kind of mysteries and procedurals, and this is because the structure, it's back to what Dan was talking about of comfort and surprise, like just the craft that goes into some writing of shows that seem like, oh God, television's been doing this forever. How can this keep working? I think it's just something innate. It's like a good clock. You can always appreciate how a clock is built.
The animated series that has influenced me the most in my career in terms of voiceover work, I would say, is The Simpsons. But I also grew up watching Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy, and also Eon Flux. I'd say that all of those animations had a profound influence on the kinds of work I wanted to work on, and I think that Rick and Morty also exemplifies a unique point of view and voice. That's why I love it so much. It is my favorite thing in the world.
Now, next question, and again, I know you guys have gotten this before, but I want to hear it new as though it is fresh for the first time. What character from your show do you most relate to? And Michael, I'll give you a pass. You can choose from Harvey Birdman, or you can choose from the entire Adult Swim catalog. I don't know if restrictions make it easier or harder now.
I'll start. I always have the same answer, which is that I present as a Birdie, but I think I have some Tuca in my core, some kind of a combination of those characters.
Yeah, it's an obvious thing for me to relate to Rick because of the causticity, the toxicity, the selfishness, the narcissism. But and I own that stuff. But like, I carry the suspicion and the acceptance that I am Jerry from Rick and Morty. You know, that the intention is to do right, and that makes you a non-entity, which is a little like Birdie, like from watching the pilot. Like I'm like, to me, I feel like there's a part of us that just wants to do things right, and then that's the other part of us that's like, fuck everything and like get
agent of chaos.
and you go back and forth. So even though that's how, but more so than being both Rick and Morty, I think of myself as Rick and Jerry, which is like Morty to me is like a mythical innocent, like no one's Morty.
I was going to say, I can't imagine you or Justin identifying primarily as Morty.
It's more like just and famously, like Mike Lazo, like he adjusted the character of Morty because Morty was a punching bag. He was like Mr. Bill, for those of you who are over 70 watching the panel. It's like it was Rick beating up on Morty and Morty just taking.
Oh, no.
And Lazo was like, I don't like this Morty character. He never pushes back. So like, but what is your?
That's a good note. That's a good note. That's a good note.
But Morty just exists as he's an innocent, like, and I'm always like, yeah, I either got the Rick going or the Jerry going, which is like the to me the Tuca or the Birdie, like having watched the pilot, I'm like, it's the how do I do right by everybody versus when am I going to get what I'm entitled to?
What's the first thing you'll do when you're able to go back to real life? Real life.
Oh shit.
I'll take it, Lisa.
Yeah, you go.
I'm always like hijacking the questions. I didn't know.
You can ask the rest of them too. I keep
straight
offering.
to the corner bar. Like that's the only thing I miss about the outside world. Like I have been drinking so little. Like you can't tell from this panel. Like this, I'm like, because like the anxiety of being social. Like then I'm like, okay, medicine, the corner bar. Like the place you go where you willfully plunge yourself into darkness and human contact and you have a drink and you talk to the bartender. I miss it so much. I probably added years to my life by not having that, but I can't wait to get back to it. Lisa.
Still blanking because I'm such a homebody. Like my life hasn't changed that much. I would like to hang out with my friends and give them a hug. That would be nice. That's a very earnest answer.
Oh, and I'm looking forward to, per my fiance, we're going to go horseback riding with Lisa and Adam.
Yeah, we're all going to go. I'm going to take them up in Griffith Park.
That sounds like a dream.
I have three boys who are sort of in their 20s. I know you're all shocked, but going to concerts with them, because our music taste is the exact same, all of us, although Finn's a little too EDM for the rest of us. But Finn, Aiden, and Tristan and I going to concerts is a thing. I'm choking up thinking about it. Cannot wait. Like with Belle and Sebastian, baby, here we come.
Oh, man. That's sweet.
Michael, I'm holding you after this, and we're going to talk about Belle and Sebastian for a second, but not for the purposes of these panels. Okay.
I'll get my three sons in here because we can go for it.
But tonight there's going to be chaos in the kitchen.
Just like the rowdiest.
Like, I'm too EDM. Put down the knife. I'm making a salad.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to go from 2 EDM to Belle and Sebastian, which honestly couldn't be more.
They cover it all. Yeah, they got it.
What's the first thing that I'll be able to do when I go back into the real world after COVID and I have a vaccine and everything? I will probably go out to a rave and make out with somebody I don't know that I think is super hot. Isn't that what everybody's going to do?
The first thing I'll probably do when life goes back to some kind of normalcy is go to a restaurant with my wife, to go have a nice dinner one evening. That's very exciting. Going to a movie is very exciting. Chomping down on some popcorn and chocolate-covered raisins. And then also going to LACMA, the LA County Museum of Art. That's like one of my great afternoon pastimes that I love to do. Just by myself, go there, have a drink or two at the restaurant, and then have a nice lunch, and then just walk around and look at art. And it's so nice. I look forward to that a lot.
Okay, and last one. I feel like we touched on this a little earlier, but were there any new skills or hobbies you have developed in quarantine? Lisa, I know you have an answer to
I already piped up like a child about my roller skating. Like I couldn't wait to talk about it.
Oh, new skills developed in quarantine? Oh, tech. I feel like I'm the least technologically inclined human, and through all of the Rick and Morty recordings we've done from home, I've learned some things. I think it was probably like Groundhog's Day for the sound engineers towards the beginning, because every time we'd come on, it was like I was a newborn baby doing it for the first time. They'd be like, yeah, just drag this file, click over here, you want to upload, download this. I'd be like, yes, that's great. And where's that button again? So I've had to learn some things.
Michael, any new hobbies or skills?
Yeah, I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Oh,
wow.
I always thought it was chance. I was convinced.
No, there's algorithms. It's like there's moves.
Yeah, I was so disappointed to learn that no matter where the cube is configured, you simply two left, two right, and you're
Yeah.
Honestly, these are all roller skating and woodworking and solving a Rubik's Cube are frankly great uses of your time at home, and I'm very impressed. And I think that is a great way to finish up our panel today. Michael, Dan, Lisa, thank you sincerely so much for the time. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and an exciting time ahead for adult animation as well. So as a reminder, you can stream all 4 seasons of Rick and Morty on a HBO Max now. Tuca and Birdie season 2 coming soon, 2021. At some point that will be marketed so well to you when you find out. It'll be exceptionally exciting. And to tide you over in the meantime, you can stream all of your favorites from the Adult Swim collection on HBO Max. So that's all the time. Thank you again. Lovely chatting with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. And a big thank you to South by Southwest for having us.